Once there was a rich man and he was married to a beautiful woman. They always wanted to have a child, a baby. But no matter how much the woman prayed, no child came along. She was sad about this. One winter, the snow lay everywhere. And in the garden of this great house belonging to the rich man, there was a juniper tree growing. The woman of the house went out and she was standing near the juniper tree. She had a small knife and she was peeling an apple. And while she peeled the apple, she pricked her finger and she saw drops of blood falling into the snow. She looked down and felt very sad and she said, "If only I had a child who was as white as snow and as red as blood." And as soon as she'd said that, she felt much calmer in herself. She felt that something good was going to happen. Well, 1 month passed and the snow melted. 2 months passed and everything became green. And 3 months passed and flowers began to appear. And 4 months passed and the trees in the wood started to grow strong and intertwining their branches, and the birds flew about and the blossoms fell from the trees. And then the next month, there were berries on the juniper tree, and the woman stood under the juniper tree and she smelt the blossoms and the berries, and she felt very calm. And then the next month came, and she started to eat the berries. This was the 7th month, and she ate the berries so avidly that she became sick, she became ill. And when the 8th month came, she said to her husband, "If I die, please bury me beneath the juniper tree." And then the 9th month came and a beautiful baby appeared, a little boy, a baby boy as white as snow and as red as blood. And she was so delighted, but she died. And her husband, who was full of grief, he buried his wife underneath the juniper tree and he grieved for several years. But then after that, he met another woman and he married this other woman. He had a little boy. The boy who was white as snow and red as blood. And his wife, his new wife, soon gave birth to another baby. It was a baby girl. But now, this new wife, she had been affected by the devil in some way. The devil had taken hold of her. And while she loved her own little daughter, she never liked this stepson of hers. And she always had something bad to say about him. He could never do anything good. She slapped him and barked at him. When he came back from school, he never had any peace. Anyway, one day the woman was up in her room and her daughter followed her up into the room, and the daughter said, "Mother, can I have an apple?" And the woman said, "Of course you can, darling." And she brought the girl to a big chest that was in the corner of the room, had a heavy lid on it. She lifted this heavy lid. It had a sharp metal clasp on it too, and the chest was full of apples. She picked out an apple and gave it to her daughter. And then the girl said, "Could I take one for my brother as well?" Well, as soon as she'd said that, the mother became enraged and she says, "No, and in fact, you shouldn't get an apple before your dear brother gets one." She takes the apple back off the girl and throws it into the chest and slams down the lid. Sometime later, she's looking out the window and she sees her son, her stepson, coming home from school. She calls him up to the room and she's got a fierce look in her eyes and she says, "My darling, would you like an apple?" And he says, "Yes, mother." "What's that fierce look in your eyes?" She says, "I want you to pick the apple that you like best." She lifts up the lid of the chest and she points in, and the boy leans in to get an apple. And what does the mother do? She lets the lid slam down and that sharp metal spike cuts the boy's head off. His head rolls in amongst the apples. So what she does is she goes and she gets a white cloth and she puts the boy's head back on his shoulders and she wraps a cloth around it, hoping no one will notice this. And then she puts the boy sitting on a chair outside the house and she puts an apple into